We are back on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, and as you can see behind me, we are very much on our way to TNA Slammiversary, and I am actually really honored today because I've actually been wanting to talk to my guest for quite some time, but even more so than ever because he is going to be in the main event of Slammiversary against 5 other guys who we'll get into in a minute, looking to claim the TNA Heavyweight Championship, but he will be bringing the mayhem to Slammiversary. It is Steve Maclin. How are you?
I'm doing well, Adam. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. It's well, there's a thing in England called sun, and we have it now. It makes a change, but
Nice.
yeah, we're not used to it, but it's nice when it's here. Steve, thanks so much for joining us ahead of what is a massively important pay-per-view, not just for you, but for TNA. Going back to
Yeah.
Montreal, obviously, you're in this match, the main event. It's near enough sold out. They've sold more tickets in a decade for this match. How much of a buzz has that given you and everybody backstage at TNA?
It's since January, since we've come back to the rebrand of TNA, it's just been balls to the wall. Rocket has been strapped on, and we've just been trying to just knock it out of the park every time we're out there with whatever, if it's TV or if it's PLE or just a major pay-per-view like Slammiversary coming up. And it's put a lot of pressure on a lot of locker room, which is a good thing. It just means we're doing something right. And that just means we're doing the best pro wrestling out there as well, which I've said since I've came to Impact and to now TNA. It's just been the best pro wrestling show from beginning to end weekly. So I'm very much excited for it.
It was quite interesting because you joined sort of a couple of years ago now, and it was kind of then when I sort of thought that it was riding this. It was kind of going unnoticed, the work that TNA was doing back in when it was called Impact Wrestling a good few years ago. But it's now getting to that point where the sort of hard work that hasn't gone unnoticed is now starting to get noticed, and it's being replicated with the sellout crowds that you've been getting as well.
Yeah, it's been the locker room from top to bottom, just doing our job and just going out there and trying to kill it every night. And I try to do that myself every time I step through the curtain and go to the ring. I try to sell out and try to give everything that I have, knowing that I want to make this brand and this company better. And for what TNA is now and for what it's growing to, and especially with Slammiversary on the 20th up in Montreal, I think I saw earlier today, it's about 50 tickets away from selling out. So it's really, really cool. And it's a really cool time to be a part of something like this.
Yeah, definitely. So do you think it also a little bit of vindication from you? Last year, you missed it through injury. The year before, I think you was on the pre-show. Now you're in the main event. So does that give you a bit of vindication that you're doing the right thing as well?
Yeah, it's ebbs and flows within the wrestling business. Everybody has their part in the movie. And it's like right now, it's my time in that part of the movie right now, up in the main character, being in the main event at Slammiversary with 5 other leading co-stars. So it's pretty cool to be in that moment. Did it stink last year to be sitting at home and having to watch Slammiversary for what I knew what we were planning, and then injury kind of took over. And but and things happen for a reason. And then here we are in 2024 going into Slammiversary, almost sold out.
Exactly that. I'm actually really looking forward to it myself. Card from top to bottom looks stacked. We'll get into that in a little bit as well. But the 5 guys you're taking on as well have so much different sort of repertoires. I mean, you've got Moose that's been raising hell with the system with Impact for a while now. You've got the 2 sort of, I would say the really experienced 2 in Nick Nemeth and Frankie Kazarian. And then you've kind of got like the it factor at the moment in wrestling with Joe Hendry. And then you've got, I would say, probably one of the best, yourself up there as well, pound for pound wrestlers in Josh Alexander. How do you approach a match like that with different kind of styles and different levels of expertise throughout the whole 6 of you?
There's really no approaching it. It's just kind of just knowing what you do and knowing what I do. And I'm just believing in myself and going into this with 5 other competitors. And I think it's really stacked against right now, Moose against 5 of us, more than anything. But then also with him having the system in the background and the experience of Nick Nemeth and Frankie Kazarian and this buzz that Joe Hendry has right now with his Spotify numbers. And then you have one of the best pure wrestlers in the world, Josh Alexander. There's a lot. You can't really predict what's going to happen. All I know is that it's either going to be a fight, but there's a lot of bodies and a lot of numbers everywhere. So we'll figure that out. And maybe I'll be the smarter man and just powder out and watch them all eliminate each other and just wait and pick my moment.
Create mayhem when you need to create the mayhem.
Yes.
Okay, but that would be right, Steve. Just talking about TNA as a whole in terms of locker room, I was going through the divisions, the X division, the heavyweight division, the tag division, the knockouts division. Right now, I would stack that up against any roster anywhere with the level of talent and the brilliance that you guys have got there. Do you agree that right now, I don't think there is much difference between, say, the rosters that you've got and rosters that are elsewhere in terms of how great and stacked they are?
Yeah, and I know fans, you guys all love to just compare and contrast. Me, I keep my head is in tunnel vision, going straight towards TNA. And I've been asked like, "Oh, how do you feel if you were to go to NXT?" It's just like, if it happens, it happens. If the
Mm.
moment strikes, or if I was to go there or do something, that'd be great. But right now, my mind is just set in on TNA and Slammiversary, and that's, I think, the focus of most of the locker room is that way as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, but obviously, the addition to that with the Hardys that have recently come back as well, that
Yes.
just goes to show as well, though, that the bigger names still want to come here. It's not
Yeah,
forgotten
and
about.
well, it's a place where you get to just, it's a land of opportunity. It's a place where you can either come to make a name for yourself, or a place where you can come reinvent yourself or reinvigorate yourself. And with the Hardys, we were just in Philly, and the ovation they got coming out, it was kind of cool to sit and watch through the curtain, just because I like, it's the Hardys. I grew up
Yeah.
jumping off of ladders because of them. So it's hard not to. But it's just really cool to have them in the locker room as well, especially with the experience and just chat with Matt, and just being able to just kind of just pick his brain a little bit for like a little bit of nuances, and just seeing how he feels about wrestling in general as a whole. Like, it's just good to just have those conversations with veterans like them.
Yeah, definitely. So you two mentioned about how people sort of reinvigorate themselves or change their character up a little bit. There's two in particular that I've been paying a lot of attention to on TNA since they've arrived. One of them is Ash by Elegance, and one of them is AJ Francis. Now, where they were elsewhere, they wasn't really getting the TV time, perhaps the character development time. What I've noticed since they've come to TNA is because they're getting that time, and because they're getting not only the TV time but the characters developing, you actually see how talented they actually are because they're on your screens every week. Whereas before, you weren't seeing that. So you probably didn't get to know them or to see how talented they really are because you weren't seeing them every week.
Yeah, I could say the same exact thing for me too, coming into
Yeah.
TNA Impact when we had no fans, and that was a very weird moment for me to have to try to do something new with no fans to feed off of and see how it would work. But then once fans were let in, and I was able to gain that confidence and gain that the opportunity that was given to me by TNA to go out there weekly, and then eventually being put in the main event scene, and you're just given those reps, and that's what all it takes, is getting reps and getting those moments to where you are on television, and just gaining that confidence as a talent, and also just going out there and just killing it. And that's what the roster's done from top to bottom. I can say that for AJ and for Ash, and just for majority of the roster in general.
Yeah, I mean, up to say from what I've been watching over the last couple of years, it's been so it's just been incredible. I saw it was 2 weeks ago. It was Impact just felt like a pay per view in terms of the matches, the quality of matches you guys put on. And it's not to say every week isn't like that, but I think it was definitely 2 weeks ago. It just felt like the whole show just felt like a pay per view, which is testament to the work you guys are all doing there.
Yeah, it's also just getting more eyes on the TNA Plus app too, and just getting more
Yeah.
eyes on the television show that we have with Impact and TNA Impact. And just weekly on Thursday nights, you get to watch us all go out there, whether you think it's a main, like you just said, whether it's a pay-per-view card or whether it's just a television card. We're getting our stories out there of what we're trying to get to with these pay-per-views, especially like Slammiversary and just even the PLEs that we have coming up. It's just, that's what we build to, and that's what we work for, and that's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, well, say trying, it's certainly working, in my opinion, from
Yes.
what I've been watching. The TNA Plus app is where to get everything from. You can watch Impact, you can watch the
Yep.
pay-per-views, you can watch, or PLEs, whatever you call them nowadays, you can watch anything on there. Also, I've shouted in the UK, you watch them in DAZN as well over here in the UK,
Yes.
as well as AXS TV over in the States. You can get your weekly dose of Impact. I will run through the card as what's been announced for next week very, very shortly. But Slammiversary, Montreal, Quebec, Canada as well, massive wrestling history there. Does that also, when you go to these sort of places with that history, does it make it a bit more special?
Yeah, you always think of Montreal with the screw job. So that's always the first thing that comes into mind, that you just kind of have in the back of your head. Like, oh, I remember watching that as a kid. And just, it's one of those towns where, all right, I want to know the history of this place. I want to know who wrestled here, who's in this locker room. And like, I do that a lot of places, even on the independents. Even when I went up to Calgary a few months back up in Stampede, and it was just cool to just be in a locker room that I knew, like, all those vets back in the day were there. It was just the venue itself. I don't know, it had that aura, and like, you just got that vibe, and you want to go out there and deliver. And it's the same showing up in Montreal. There's so much history of wrestling there, and you want to go out and deliver. And I think that's what we're going to do.
Did you have that feeling when you was in the 2300 in Philly?
Always. That I look at Tommy every time, Dreamer all the time. He just looks at me. I go, you realize this is what I wanted to do because of you guys. And here we are. I was like, can I bleed tonight? Can I go through a flaming table? Can I just do some type of weapon thing? Just something crazy. But it's always fun to just go there and pick his brain too of stories. And even Rhino backstage, just, hey, like, tell me about this, like what happened here, like and even Dreamer just showing me around the building of how it's changed there, and where Paul Heyman gave his speech the numerous times, but he's like, yeah, this happened here, and it's cool to just go into those buildings and learn that history.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, I feel that way when I go into like a Wembley in the UK or the Electric Ballroom in Camden when I go and see some shows there. And mind you, there's music aside of that as well, but there is still the people that have been there, what's gone on there, and yes, it's amazing. But we mentioned about pay-per-views. You got one coming up in about 3 months, Bound for Glory.
Yes.
Location still to be confirmed. Although I would like to think, I think they mentioned it was maybe one in the top 10 countries visited or something along those lines. And I noticed on that list, London, England was on that list. So would that be somewhere you'd like to see it?
I can't confirm or deny. I've heard the rumors. Would it be awesome to be over the UK? Yes, because I've been asking when we're going back to the UK, and I missed out on this past tour last year over the fall, and that's something that I've been wanting to get back to, just because I only got a little bit of a taste of the United Kingdom crowd, or the UK crowd in general. Just a different entity of pro wrestling fans and a different body of work. It's just there's a different energy, and I only got to feel that at Download Festival and then a couple shows when I was with NXT.
Yeah.
And it was just one of the coolest things in the world. Just because you guys do the football chants, you guys just get more involved. It's just something different, and it's fun to play with. It's just it's like for me, it's like a new toy. Like we get to, okay, let's go see how this, like a new instrument, if anything, would be a better analogy. But all right, let me see how this works, tuning it this way and see how I get a reaction out of this. And it's something fun that I would love to do. So hopefully, fingers crossed that that still goes through.
I would love to see it over here in the UK for sure. It'd be great to bring Bound for Glory, another signature pay-per-view, a bit like Slammiversary. And before we get into the main event, apart from it, and talking about the guys again, Slammiversary in the history has always been about King of the Mountain matches. If you go back through the archives of TNA, it was always, 5 guys, reverse battle royal, ladder match, to bring it down. And one of the questions we got asked to ask you is, if you could have a King of the Mountain match with TNA past and present, who would you want in it?
Myself,
Yeah.
Josh Alexander, Chris Sabin. We're 6 competitors, right?
5.
AJ Styles.
Yeah.
Samoa Joe. That's 5, right? Or are we at 6?
I
No.
think that's 5. I think that's about it. Yeah. I think.
And then let's add in Kurt Angle.
Well, yeah, we've got to add in Kurt Angle. Yeah, we can't forget Kurt. That's been that. Well, I wish we could book. I wish we could book that, but I don't think we can. But it's a shame. It's a shame. That would have been a tremendous match. And you kind of hit on AJ and something like that. And obviously, this whole portal has been open. I know you're focusing on TNA, which is great. But how in 2024, did you ever imagine that would even be a possibility these days?
No, but at the same time, yes, because anything in wrestling is possible, and you never know, and what's good for business. And with what's going on with the relationship in WWE and TNA right now, it's wrestling and as a whole is booming right now with every company, with AEW, CMLL, AAA, everywhere. Everybody's going everywhere, which is really good for the talent, but it's also really good for the fans because you're getting to see everybody everywhere. And for that forbidden portal, or whatever you want to consider it right now, it's really cool to see. And if it opens up even more, I'm very much looking forward to that in the future.
Yeah, definitely so. It's to say, I think it's been great because I think it also sometimes it puts the eyes on, like, where Jordan Grace did go into WWE, and people that may not have been watching TNA was like, oh, TNA, oh, where's that now? Oh, we're going to go and watch that. So it may put more eyes on the product, which in turn helps TNA because selling out arenas, because they then watch your show and go, oh, this is great. I'm going to the next show I can go to.
And it can go the same the other way too,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
with NXT talent that's coming over to TNA right now, and you're getting to know some of those names as well. And then they come back to NXT, like, oh wow, I saw them on TNA this past week, and it's giving wrestlers the experience to just go elsewhere and see what else is out there too. And you're getting to work with different bodies of work, and it's really cool. It just wrestling's awesome. I've never thought this would be possible, but it's really cool to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's been great, and it is really nice to see. I know it sounds corny when I say the word nice to see, but it is good to see things happen in that way, because sometimes being sort of standing on its own, to have these surprises when you don't realize they're happening, and then all of a sudden Joe Hendry pops up on your TV and you're like, what's going on? It's great for the fans as well as it is great for the people, great for the wrestling as well. But
Yes.
going back to Slammiversary, the main event for you, you've been TNA World Champion before. I would say, does it give you an edge? But I don't know if it does in this match due to the people that have been in it are also champions.
Yeah, this is you got a 6-pack challenge elimination match pretty much for the TNA World Title, and like I said before, Moose has the deck stacked against him pretty much with 5 competitors that have been hungry after the World Title, and then we also got the system on his side, so you don't never know where they're going to get involved. But it's a crapshoot. It's taking your opportunity when you can, getting a pinfall or submission where you can, and then it's just trying to survive. And I think the 6 competitors that are in this match, we're all survivors in our own right, where we've worked our way to the title. We all qualified in matches against competitors that are former world champions or people that are hungry for the world title.
Yeah, you did, and you actually won the match this week yourself and Moose. Bit of a wild card pairing. We obviously beat Joe
Last night.
It was last night. Yeah, I watched it earlier on this morning. It was great to see. But Moose doesn't seem to be very happy on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, with you saying about the championship.
I get it. Yeah, the title was laying there. I picked it up. I looked at it. I was like, oh, this could be mine again in 7 days. And then he wanted to grab it like a child stealing candy from a baby. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I know he's a little insecure right now because, like I said, he's got 5 guys in a match that are very hungry for the world title. And if you're not fighting for the world title, then what are you doing this for?
Exactly that. And as we go to wrap up, Steve, I need to mention, speaking of Impact, this week on TNA Impact, the system may not have all the gold going into Slammiversary. Myers and Edwards will be taking on people that we've talked about today, the Hardys, for the TNA Tag Team Championships, which, that's main event written all over it. But in addition to that, the Rascals and TBA. I was wondering what wrestler TBA is. I've never met him before, but it's going to be someone who maybe the Rascals know, who knows, against NXT's No Quarter Catch crew. That's a mouthful to say, but that will be a great 6-person tag when that happens. And Alicia Edwards will go one-on-one with Zaya Brookside. So a stacked Impact ahead of Slammiversary on July 20th, next Saturday. Would you believe, next Saturday? Limited, as Steve said, tickets still remain, probably less than 50 now. I think Eventbrite was the place to go when I last looked earlier on this morning. But you can also watch it on the TNA Plus app, as well as Impact Wrestling on their AXS TV and DAZN in the UK. But Steve, I wish you all the best of luck, shall I say, for next Saturday. I'll be watching on and getting ready to review it on here on the channel. But thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again soon.
No, I appreciate it for the time. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Guys, watch TNA every week, TNA Plus app and everywhere else. And until next time, everybody, you've been watching the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast with Mr. Mayhem, Steve Maclin, and myself, Adam Cousins. Until next time, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.